All right, hiatal hernia. What's going on, Secoya Nation? Dr. Shilling bringing today's wellness wisdom. And if you don't know what hiatal hernia is, it's when your stomach is jammed up in your diaphragm, and it can affect your stomach, giving gastritis, give you a cough, like if you're constantly clearing the throat, that's subclinical acid reflux. It could feel like there's a burning sensation. There could be crampiness. Basically, the idea is like feeling your stomach is just jammed, like just feeling this tension right here. So one of our participants, Jenna, exclusively comes in when she has trouble with this. She comes in and says, I need you to pull my stomach down. And if you haven't seen the video from 2019, 2018, what was that? 18, had to be 18, who knows? When I was working on Nissa, and she almost passed out on camera. I was working on her diaphragm, and
don't need to full attention to that.
I know, it's hilarious. Anyway, but that's a great video to go back and look on if you want to understand like stomachs and hiatal hernias and stuff like that. Anyway, if you know somebody who struggles with the hiatal hernia, a lot of times they say, well, you need a surgery, you got to staple your stomach down. Like I can tell you, like your body is going to pull it back up right away because it'll probably tear the staples up. It's holding on that tension for a reason. Like imagine when you're stressed, you're just like this. You're just jammed up in here and all the energy is just trapped. Your diaphragm's over tight. So we do a lot of diaphragm release, a lot of stomach visceral manipulation where we pull the stomach down and stuff like that because people feel better. They can breathe better. They digest better. I can't name a person who's been labeled with gastritis that hasn't had a hiatal hernia. So word to the wise, there's a connection. So today we're going to talk about the brain-body connection, what's called the emotional connection. It's really about the stressors that are related to it. So when someone wants to receive something, they want to leave the door open. It's like they leave, like imagine their stomach's left open, but their hiatal hernia is like trapped, and they want to fill that empty void, if you will. That's one of the primary ones. Sometimes people are feeling rejection. So if they have a conflict-related rejection, they can feel that jamming, so the jamming of the stomach in there, because it's going to be an indigestible situation when there's a rejection, and someone's dealing with that. When someone feels like the verbiage in the German medicine world is like the sovereignty of my vital limits. So when someone's overstepped your boundaries, that can trigger your body into holding tension, which will then potentially drive the stomach up and the diaphragm staying tight, which then creates the digestive issues we talked about earlier. When you think about new ideas, and sometimes they're offensive, so whether someone's stepping over your boundaries, disregarding your boundaries, or feeding you information that's offensive, that can also trigger a hiatal hernia, is one concept. Being labeled as something that you then reject and say, well, that's not me, that can also trigger a hiatal hernia. And then when you were told something by a friend, loved one, family member, whoever you know, and that you thought you could count on it, but you can't count on it. Once again, it's another stress response in your brain, which then triggers in your body an indigestible situation, tension in the diaphragm, stomach getting jammed. And that's kind of the depth of the emotional reactions or the brain-body connection. And so when those triggers happen, then it triggers the body into taking on stress and showing stress. The body doesn't make mistakes. It's a way of diffusing your stress. It's basically a way of saying, like, you're not paying attention to this conflict, so I'm going to bring your attention to it. And that's when it shows up in the body. So as best you can, resolve those triggers in your life, those conflicts in your life, so that you then don't have the physical discomfort. Because if you've ever had one, it does not feel good at all. When the diaphragm gets tight, it tightens up the psoas. Psoas can throw off your hips, your back gets jacked up, and all kinds of stuff. Good thing we're turning it off right now. So fan just decided to start blowing. So these are important to know for you to understand what's going on with your body, what the brain-body disconnect is, why the issue shows up in the tissue. It's because of the trigger stress in your brain. So we just encourage you to share this with friends and family who struggle or suffer from hiatal hernias, so that you could be their, not their savior, but you can give them a leg up and help them feel much better very, very soon, much faster. Thank you, Nissa. Mm-hmm. So if you want more content like this, check out the pages on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, the Gram, whatever you're rolling on, and sign up for the newsletter, because we'll send out information like this every month, multiple times a month, to keep you in the know, because this is not stuff you're hearing anywhere else. And we applaud anyone else who's talking about this concept, because this is the true, in our opinion, from our perspective. People will differ about that. I'm sure there's some comments. The true root cause of any health challenge. because in the absence of a trauma, the body breaks down on the inside first, and then it's the brain affecting the body. The body then breaks down because the body can do it on its own. So
somebody
Yeah.
asked how it says adrenaline and other chemicals in your body all increase when you're having a hiatal hernia or
Sure.
holding tension. How is that interconnected as far as like the triad of health, the chemical side of it, in
Absolutely.
combination with the
So the hiatal hernia, thanks, great question. Great question. The hiatal hernia is the structural side of the triangle. So if you have, let's say, musculoskeletal, you have chemical, biochemical, and you have neuroemotional, or biopsychosocial, second terminology, fancy words for saying like your relationships. So when you have that triangle, so you're feeling the symptom when you're under that level of stress that was in the physical form, that was triggered by the mental, emotional form in life, then you drive up your adrenaline because you're under stress, okay? You're feeling the tension, you're feeling the stress. And what happens when you're stressed? You're not calm, you're not like, I'm in a hammock on the beach with a Mai Tai, chilling out. No, it doesn't happen. You're sweating, you're gritting your teeth, you're tense, your body's like, oh God, it sucks. So that's gonna drive up the structural, the biochemical is the adrenaline and the cortisol, which is gonna make you insulin resistant over time. And then, so the emotional side, or the brain-body disconnect, that's how it all ties together. So that is an amazing question. I don't know if you read that on a description somewhere, but that's brilliant. Appreciate that. Any other questions there? No? Okay. Sweet. So there's your keys for hiatal hernia. Share with your friends and family. We love you, appreciate you, and we look forward to serving you tomorrow with the wellness wisdom. All right, guys. Have a great night.